The nightmare always starts with me feeding her that gumdrop. We're in the meadow, holding fast to each other, her face shining with tears of joy. And I don't check the bag. I never check the bag. Why can't I remember to check the bag? I just lift that blood red gumdrop to her lip, and there's no stopping what follows. My realization, her terror, the bloody foam, my pleading with her to stay, her making me promise. Then her uncles are there, Clerk Carmine ripping her from my arms, trying to restart her heart while he calls her name. Tam Ander standing stiffly over them, his hand shaking as he mumbles, "Not again. Oh, not again." That's when the music kicks in with her name poem, her song, careening around my brain like a runaway train. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. And distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from the books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here for evermore. The raven, the unforgiving songbird, repeatedly reminding me of President Snow's crystal clear message to me on my homecoming, that I will never get to love anyone ever again, nevermore, because he will make sure they end up dying a horrible death. And so I drive away anyone and everyone who could ever have been considered dear to me. Old neighbours, Hattie, customers, schoolmates. Blair and Burdock hang on the hardest. Blair finally acknowledges the truth of my position, gives me one final hug, and leaves sobbing. Even then, Burdock insists on showing up sometimes along with Astrid, who bears bottles of sleep syrup. Defiant, deaf to my pleas, I resort to throwing rocks, hard at them. It takes one hitting Astrid on the forehead, blood pouring down her perfect face, to finally get them to leave me alone. Hurting her that way feels worse than anything I did in the arena. And the silken sand, uncertain, rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, "or Madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. The world goes silent. I see no one. I have really never been alone before, always with my family, or my friends, or my love. A peacekeeper slides an envelope of money, my victor winnings, under my door every week, and leaves a food parcel on the porch. On the envelope, meat and bread and milk and various supplies have been meticulously deducted. Who has arranged this service? The President? Is he still insisting on keeping me alive? I would welcome death if it wasn't for my promise to Lenore Dove that I would somehow keep the sun from rising on the reaping. The impossibility of it adds to my despair. I drain the bottles of sleep syrup to escape reality, only to feed her gumdrops in my dreams. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming, no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore," merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Sorry. I go looking for her one night, searching for freshly overturned earth and a new headstone in the graveyard on the hill. The others are there, Ma, Sid, my fellow tributes, but not Lenore Dove. The Covey's crooked house stands dark and still in the moonlight. I roam around the yard like a stray dog, curl up under her window, yearning for her ghost to find me. It must be 3 a.m. when the fiddle begins, soft and low, playing her song. Does Clerk Carmine somehow know that I'm there? Is this his attempt to drive me stark raving mad? I pound on the door, screaming at the top of my lungs. Where is she? Where is she? The fiddle falls silent, but it's too late. The earworm has awoken. Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obscene made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but then with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door. Perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. When this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is, on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. The sleep spirit runs out, and in desperation I begin to visit old Buscombe Pie, loading a sack of bottles of rot gut, clinking all the way home. Some nights I find the oblivion I seek, others I wander through the dark. One morning I awake half naked on the green outside my house, covered in mosquito bites. I realise where she must be, that her uncles would not have laid her to rest in the District 12 graveyard, but taken her somewhere she loves, that they all love, the woods. I am a man on a mission. For weeks I wander through the trees, circle the lake, examine the soil under the apple trees, looking for any sign of her, entreating the mockingjays for a clue to her whereabouts, calling her name to the winds. The leaves turn scarlet and gold, crouching beneath my feet. Lenore Dove, I cry, but she doesn't reveal herself. Burdock comes, though, appearing out of the mist, his leather jacket fastened against the frost, his bow in hand, a brace of wild turkey at his hip. He has not forgiven me, will never, but it is not beyond pity. Perhaps because he knows what it is to love. If you want her, come on, is all he says. And I do want her, just as long as I wanted the apples, just as long ago I wanted the apples he promised, and so I followed him, far, far into the woods, beyond the lake, beyond my ken, to a hidden grove no normal human eye could detect, and there he leaves me. A small secret graveyard with beautifully carved headstones, Covey, each marked only with a snippet of their name poems, amongst them on a creamy white stone. Lady, he said, Montclair, he said, Montclair, and hid his face on a mossy slab of slate. Yet same maintain that to this day she is a living child, that you may see sweet Lucy Gray upon the lonesome wild. And on a grey wreck speckled with pink and purple. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore, merely this, and nothing more. I lie in her grave and remain there as night falls. Dawn breaks and blackness descends again. I tell her everything and beg her to return to me, to wait for me, to forgive me for all the ways in which I have failed. When the dawn breaks on the second day and she has not come, I bury the flint striker, snake and bird in front of her headstone. I ask her to free me from my final promise. I ask her to let me come to her now. I ask her for a sign, and then when I somehow make my way home and fall asleep, where I feed her another gumdrop. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word did he outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather that he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. I hit the bottle even harder, drinking, disappearing into the night, regaining consciousness in the forgotten places of District 12. One morning at the crack of dawn, I snap awake shivering in a back alley in town. I'm staring at a message spade in bright orange paint. No capital, no hanging tree. It's a rebel play on the capital's propaganda. No capital, no reaping. Tucked away in this alley, a rallying cry beyond the peacekeeper's radar. A memory tugs at me, mazily in the arena. After she killed the game maker, Spider Silk in a More song. Well, your girl's full of surprises. Guess she got the jump on us after all. Full of surprises, full of secrets, even from me. But Maisie had it all put together. Orange paint on her fingernails. This is Lenore Dove's work. Her sign, her message to me. Her reminder that I must prevent another sunrise on the reaping. And it says, you promised me. With that, she condemns me to life. Startled at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is only stock and store. Caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs once burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in bird in front and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. Now that Lenore Dove had said her piece, other ghosts filled with hate and rage visit me in the night. Panache still seems to have little to do but hunt me down, and Silka thinks I owe her a crown. The terror bleeds into my waking hours. I start sleeping with a knife in my hand. It's every trinket that finds me thus, the morning of the victory tour. I come to startled, to discover she's taken possession of my knife. I'm so sorry about your family's accident, Hamish, and that your girl's appendicitis right after. Tragic, but this won't do. We have a responsibility to carry on. My family's accident? Lenore Dove's appendicitis. She's right. I do have a responsibility to carry on, but how can I? I let Effie pour coffee down me, send me to the tub until Proserpina and Vitus can stomach me, button me into a paisley suit that great Uncle Silas never had the occasion to wear, and somehow make me presentable as I board the train to 11. Word got out. Magna was fired for negligence, and Drusilla broke her hip falling down an escalator. Plutarch tells me in confidence. It seems Maisie was right about those hills. Anyway, I pitched Effie last minute and they jumped at the idea, especially since she brought her depraved uncle's wardrobe with her. How are you here, Plutarch? I ask. It's a question that could be answered on many levels. He chooses the most superficial. I'm here to record your victory tour. It's in my contract. Hey, you look like you could do with a sandwich. Tibby? A different train than I rode in before. Fancier. Lots of steel and chrome. Dove-covered velvet upholstery, lest I forget. Trying to forget is my full-time job now. Effie does her best to keep me sober, but the train's loaded with booze. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bottom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining, and the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er, and shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God have lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from my memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget his lost Lenore. Quaff the raven, nevermore. In District 11 I stand on the steps of their Justice Building, facing the grief-stricken families of Hull, Tile, Chicory, and the other girl, Blossom. I search the wider sea of faces for Lulu's kin, and come up empty. The party begins. I drink my way through the festivities, which run far into the night. When the Justice Building finally sleeps, Plutarch spirits me up multiple stairways and into the attic. Respire and nepenthe, I mutter into my bottle. Plutarch yanks it from my hand. Listen, Hamish, we don't have long. This attic is the only spot in the entire Justice Building that isn't bugged. Well, he might be right about that. The place looks like it hasn't been disturbed in 100 years. There's a coat of dust so thick you could comfortably sleep on it. Why you'd sneak off to this place for a party, for privacy, instead of stepping outside the Justice Building, I don't know, and I don't care. There's nothing left they can do to me, unlike Plutarch. How is it you're looking so well, Plutarch? Wyrus and Mags were tortured, right? And I'm guessing BT's dead. BT's too valuable to kill. I thought he'd have killed himself. He can't. His wife's pregnant. Besides, he wouldn't let Am hurt down that way. Oh, I see. He's going to overthrow the capital, is he? Maybe one day, but we can't any of us do it alone. You demonstrated a lot of nerve and intelligence in that arena. We need your help. Me? I say in disbelief. I am living proof that the capital always wins. I tried to keep the sun from rising on another reaping day. I tried to change this, and now everybody's dead. You don't want me. And I don't want him. I don't want help from anyone in the capital ever again. I could never trust them. We do want you. You shook up the capital, both figuratively and literally, with that earthquake. You were capable of imagining a different future. And maybe it won't be realised today, maybe not in our lifetime. Maybe it will take generations. We're all part of a continuum. Does that make it pointless? I just don't know. But I do know that you need someone different from me. No, Hamish, we need someone exactly like you. Just luckier, I say. Luckier or with better timing. Having an army at their back wouldn't hurt. Sure, that would have helped. Where were you going to get an army, Plutarch? If we can't find one, we'll have to build one. But obviously, finding one's easier. And then we'll just kill one another, like back in the good old dark days. Well, you know better than anyone what we're up against with snow. If you think of another way to stop that sunrise, you let me know. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter send or whether tempest toss thee here ashore. Desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore. Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends us, by that God we both adore. Tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, who the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, who the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. I avoid speaking to Plutarch for the rest of the victory tour, though all the districts where I stand on stages looking down at the families of the dead tributes, through all the parties that culminate in the capital, where I'm returned to my comfy cage, through all the strange festivities in District 12. My team heads to the train. Plutarch and his crew do a style piece on my new house and take a parting shot of me in the yard. As I stand there staring at my prison, unwilling to cross the threshold and resume my sentence, he joins me. All right there, Hamish? I have nothing to live for. I say this without even a note of self-pity. I am simply stating a fact. Then you have nothing to lose. That puts you in a position of power. I would like to kill him in this moment, but what would be the point? Instead I say, you think you're a good person, don't you, Plutarch? You think you're a good guy because you told me about the sun and the berms, but what you really did is help create the capital's propaganda and broadcast it to the country. 49 kids dead for it, but you gave it the old heavens be spin, and in that proper, you're some kind of hero. Plutarch takes a moment to answer. I'm nobody's idea of a hero, Hamish, but at least I'm still in the game. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back to the tempest, and in the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plain plume as a token, all that lyre of soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off the door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight over him still streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. And so I remain, forever trapped in my chamber. I am so desperate to forget, to escape the grief, that aching loneliness, the loss of those I love. There are no mementos of them, all are burned or buried. I work on forgetting their voices, their laughs, their faces. Even in my head, my language becomes dull and flat, stripped of the colour and music of yesterday. The only human contact I allow myself arrives by the way of capital news, which I play on my television set 24/7. That way, if Lenore Dove's ghost ever comes to me, I can tell her I'm working on a strategy to keep that sun from rising. I make no plans, have no hopes, keep no company, speak to no one human except old Bascom Pie when my nepenthe runs low. But I can't say I have no future, because I know that every year, for my birthday, I will get a new pair of tributes. One boy and one girl to mentor to their deaths, another sunrise on the reaping. And when I remember that, I hear Sid's voice waking me in the morning. That raven first tapped on my chamber door. Happy birthday, Hamish.